You can drive the show for us. We're also on MiamiDolphins.com live, Periscope live. So got a lot of things going. AJ, let's take a look back at your career first. 1977 first round draft pick. 1984 you make the Pro Bowl. Rookie of the year in 1977. And who's going to forget the 1982 AFC Championship game? 3 interceptions and 1 touchdown. I guess there's no need asking you what was the high point of your career, but because that day, certainly that muddy day in the Orange Bowl, certainly had to be that day for you.
That was a fun day for me, and Bo, I'm sure, being my teammate, it was fun for all. We had 47-man rosters back then. So it was probably fun for all of us, and probably only a 12-man coaching staff. I mean, it could have been not even that many. So, things have changed, but, great memories, I tell you. I share them still to this day with family and friends. It's nice to see fans who still remember. I mean, that's 30-something years ago. Man.
It's amazing, this game. And I'll tell you what, you get a different conversation than I get from this game. But all the Jet fans, every Jet fan I speak to about that game, They mention the muddy field, and they all say, we heard Don Shula was out at midnight spraying water on the field and all that stuff, right? Didn't cover the tarp. And I kind of let them go through the whole scenario and tell this and that, and I go, okay, all right, you done? They go, yeah. I go, well, let me see. We beat you 3 times. We beat you at your place, our place, and again at our place in the playoffs. How many times do you have to beat one team before you realize you just weren't better than us?
Exactly. We obviously had a much better defense. I think that their offense was their strength, but our defense was our strength. I just think that they just couldn't find ways to break our defense. Offensively, that they didn't do a whole lot in that period of our careers, and everything was based on the killer bees and just the great defensive schemes that Coach Arnsberger put together for us. So I tell you, those memories, I'm glad you got me on the show to kind of reflect on some of that stuff and crack a few smiles and have some of our old Dolphin fans that remember that stuff.
I think that era to me, or certainly those early years, 76, 7, 8, right around there, 79, were kind of a situation where the Dolphins are in right now, where they're needing to get an influx of players to kind of get over the hump and get them moving in the direction where they become, a perennial playoff team, a team that has chances to go to the Super Bowl. Much like that, in 1976, I came in, Larry Gordon came in. The next year it was you and Bob Baumhauer came in. Norris Thomas came in, who started for us as a rookie that year. So we had a lot of young guys come in. And Jay, you came out of LSU, the pride of Leon Gotcha High School.
Leon
right?
Gotcha,
That's right.
Down in the bayou.
But you came in with an attitude. I think Bob came in with an attitude that really, I think, certainly from a defensive standpoint, shifted what that defense was, and really kind of shifted because we were at the end of that 72-73, the undefeated team, the 2-time Super Bowl. A lot of those guys were kind of at the end of their career. They were leaving, and so we needed to kind of rebuild, and that 2 or 3 year period just kind of made a transition. And I really think your energy that you brought from LSU, you were kind of a hyperactive guy, and I think that really ignited that defense and kind of changed the course of history for this team over the next handful of years.
Well, I think, Bo, the good side of that was I had that a high energy, chip on my shoulder, kind of talk trash kind of guy, but I proved myself on the field.
Oh, no question.
If you don't have the goods to go along with the gabber, you're in trouble.
No doubt about that.
I think that's kind of what made it work for me is that I had the goods to go with it, and basically guys fed off of it, and I'm kind of like, I know I worked tirelessly, at my trade, and a lot of that stuff, a lot of people had memories of that kind of stuff. It pays off.
The other thing, AJ, between then and now, so much has changed between then and now. Rules, all those types of things. But to me, the thing that really has changed the face of football over those years has been free agency. We played, most of the guys we played with on that team, we played with for our entire career. I played with you for 8 years. Nat, I played with Nat for 10 years. Baumhauer played for 9 years. So you were with guys on the Doug Betters, all those guys, the Blackwoods. You played on that team, and you played with those guys for your whole career, and you were able to develop the chemistry and relationship. Now with guys coming in every 3, I think now they're saying that it's about a 40% turnover in every team around the National Football League. So it's hard to get that. It's hard for teams to build that chemistry and sustain it for a long period of time.
Well, I mean, and it's amazing how we have to take our hats off to our nemesis, the New England Patriots.
Yep.
I mean, how they're dealing with those same situations. Just like every other 31 teams besides them are dealing with, and they make it happen. What's their success? I mean, are they trying to mold themselves after some of the old school things? Are players buying into the fact that where do I go? Because I see where players go for the more money, and they're like Kruger just the other day. I mean, here's a guy that might have stayed in Baltimore, he got released by the Browns just yesterday. I mean, if he'd have stayed in Baltimore, maybe he might have gotten 4 or 5 more years out of his career, because the guy was a beast. And I just think sometimes when you're a star player in a system, maybe you might rethink and just say, I'm going to stay on board.
Well, sometimes, and how many times have you seen this where guys fit in a certain team and a certain scheme, and then they go somewhere else and they don't fit in that scheme. It's just not right for them. So things change. Hey, you're listening to the Audible here. You can go ahead and send your questions in on Facebook. Kim Bokamper here, along with AJ Duhe. I got a couple other things. Let me take care of some business here before we go on. We'll start answering some questions on here. Let's kind of transition over to where we are now. Some moves this week. Chris McCain, defensive end. He was traded to the Saints for a conditional 7th-round draft pick. I think he was battling it out in that defensive end position with Terrence Fede, and Chris. I think Chris was a little bit too specialized of a player, so they kind of moved him on. Wish him the best of luck. Also, they released Akili Blount. Mel Blount's son. I saw Mel when we were in New York. I tell you what, I saw Mel when we were in New York. He looked like he could still play right now.
And he was a beast. Because he's a couple years older. So
he's got to be about 66, 67, somewhere around there. And I tell you what, he looks as intimidating now as he did when you saw him in the black and gold on the football field. Anyway, he was released. Reuben Carter was released. A.J. Cruz, Ryan DeSalvo, San Jose State kid, and they don't last very long. Matt Hazel, Gabe Hughes, Marshall Cohn, the kicker, Al Lewis-Jean, Vincent Painter, Brandon Shippen, and Brandon Harris. All those players were released, and so the Dolphins are down to their 75-man limit right now, where they need to be as they move forward. And then obviously on Tuesday, AJ, they got to cut down to I think they cut down to 47 and then get back up to 53.
I mean, you almost have to release a whole depth chart.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of it's crazy. I mean, but Bo. I mean, when we played, we didn't go into camp with these many guys. I
right.
mean, the bodies nowadays. You're working amongst a lot of bodies. You're getting more reps, and that could be a bad thing. But then again, it gives more guys opportunities. Some of those gems do show up. McCain was a gem that showed up and got a couple good years and put himself on tape. And I'm sure Coach Campbell, now who's in the Saints, probably got some good things and some thoughts about bringing him to New Orleans. I think the kid can play. I mean,
I think he can play. He's got to, he's got to figure out what he's going to be, and I think to me he's got to be a little bit more. I think he's got a little bit more dedicated to the game. Hey, let's look at the Dolphins, Jay. You've seen them now for 3 preseason games. This preseason game, really the starters, Ryan's not going to play. Matt Moore's not going to play. Most of the starters won't play. Some of the guys will play Laramie Tunsil. They're going to play him because they want him to kind of continue to get that work at the left guard position. But beyond that, most of the starters aren't going to be out. Xavier Howard's going to get his first opportunity.
I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
Kenyon Drake is going to get his first opportunity. I think everybody's looking forward to seeing what both of those guys can do. We talked about Laramie Tunsil. Big night, big week again for guys like Spencer Paysinger, Neville Hewitt, especially with Jelani Jenkins down. They're going to get some opportunities to see what they can do and maybe step up and get some. I'm not sure what his situation. Jelani's situation is going to be going into that first preseason game.
I was impressed with the kid. I mean, the center who played for
Anthony Steen.
I mean, this kid, he held his own and played a dang good game. I tell you, I was impressed what he did.
Interesting about him, we've talked to coaches for production meetings before these games, and his name popped up even before Pouncey got hurt, and saying, hey, this guy, you remember we played with Carl Barisic, no body whatsoever, skinny legs, but the guy could play.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's Carl Barisic, but I mean, he's the same thing. When you see him out of his uniform, it doesn't look like the prototypical offensive lineman now. Yeah, I don't know, but they say, you put pads on him and get out there, and he does a job. He certainly has done it in the preseason games, and he'll get more work in this game to see what he can do. Let's go to answer some questions here first a little bit. Okay, where are we at? Let me get back here because there was one. There's some stupid questions that come in. There's no question, so you got to bear with that. So Joseph Hernandez, trading Pouncey could bring us some legitimate corners. Would you trade Mike Pouncey for some speculation on some corners? Now, here's a guy who's been a 3-time Pro Bowler for you. He's injured right now. To me, that's a little bit of a.
Really. Anybody's tradable if the price is right.
If the price is right.
Yeah, I'm not going to trade him for somebody's backup corner. Now, if the kid who went to free agency for the Redskins, that had that issue with the Carolina Panthers,
I'm lost on who you're talking about.
He was the Carolina Panther. Him and my boy from LSU got in the big fight with the Giants, and Carolina Panthers had the game last year. But he got released as the franchise player from Carolina, and the Redskins signed him.
Not Norman.
Yeah,
Josh Norman, the cornerback. Yeah. Josh Norman's floating around there now. Obviously, you think about it. You got a guy that's a multi-time Pro Bowler. Right. It's a young guy.
I want something in return. Just like that.
But if you're talking about Pouncey, you're talking about a lot of chips on the table to make a move like that. Do you think that Andrew DeLuise? You think Devontae Parker will mature into a number 1 wide receiver? He's got to figure out how to stay on the field, Jay.
He does. But it goes back to college. He might have been a crap shot. I don't know. Yep. Basically, those guys in the scouting department, they do their homework. They should have had all their information.
Yep.
The information maybe is sometimes misleading, but he's going to have 16 weeks, and he can prove himself correct to those guys by just, like you're saying, showing up and being on the field and staying and being consistent.
Well, Adam Gase talked about a little bit this week about the fact that he needs to learn how to, sometimes you got to fight through these things, and that's part of being a professional, and we'll see how he does. Jason Stavros, does Tannehill look different to you this year? It seems like his confidence, I think his confidence is up. I think Adam Gase has instilled a lot of confidence, given him some freedom at the line of scrimmage to do some different things, and really is kind of fine-tuning this game or this offense and game plan week to week to what Ryan likes to do, and I think that's good for Ryan. I think he does. He does look more confident. He's carrying himself with a different demeanor out there this year than I've seen him
mentally.
Before.
I read, I listen to his interviews, I read his articles. Just the language and the signs that he's talking about. It just sounds like he's positive. He's got that reinforcement built within his own demeanor, and that's important. You can't be second guessed, or you can't feel like these guys are always ready to pull the plug on me. I think we hope he has a big year. That's going to be important for us.
Well, I know this. Adam Gase is convinced that he can be the guy that can get the job done. He's done a lot of work on his footwork within the pocket. I think the one thing he's got to do maybe is get the ball out a little quicker. Every now and then he kind of holds on to it a little bit. When you see him, you go, man, let it go. And then it's just that little. You know how quick it is, though. You're on there. You've been on that football field. You know how quick that little gap that you've got to throw the ball closes when the guy pulls the ball back for a second.
But the thing is, I think sometimes, maybe it's going to be Adam's teaching and coaching is that, because, here I am a fan, I'm watching the game from the eagle eye. As you say, when you're watching up at the sky, things are much easier to make decisions. When you're in that compact area on the field, it's hard to make those quick decisions. But I think he's got to go through a lot of training in practice and know that when the pressure's on, I know that there's somebody right there I can just dump it, and just where you don't get the intentional grounding and you don't take the loss and the sack. You're going to get the hit. Yep. And that's one thing that encourages me about it. He's tough as can be.
He's tough as nails, this kid.
Yeah, this kid is.
He's taken hits. He took a hit against Dallas, popped right back up. I've seen him take some major hits and gets right back up. He's never really hasn't missed. I think he's missed one game or part of one game,
no, they
part of another game.
Yeah, he missed one. He started every game in his career.
He started every game. I think
he got hurt in the Jets game.
Jets game. Matt Moore came in, played well for him, and then he came right back in and started.
But I think, like we were saying, he's going to have to take away some of those negative plays because that's when you get sacked for 13 yards, you can't make that up. There's no way to make that up.
The other thing, AJ, and this has kind of been this is the soapbox I've been on all preseason so far this year. This team's got to find a way to rectify the penalty situation. I don't know how many times last year they jump off sides, and now you put your quarterback in a 1st and 15 time and time again, or you complete a pass, guys gets a holding call. Now you're 1st and 25 or 2nd and 20 or whatever it happens to be. And he's been put in some tough situations. They got to rectify some of those problems because you can't blame Ryan if you got an offensive lineman or a couple offensive linemen that are jumping off sides on first downs to start a drive, and you find yourself at first and it's hard enough to make it 1st and 10, much less 1st and 15. So he's got to get a little help from those guys.
The other thing that gets me is talking about the offensive side, even the defensive side, the penalties. Basically, when we played,
Yep.
we got away with things, what I mean? But you got to be able to police yourself. Everybody
Right.
has to be their own police. An offensive lineman knows he's going to get away with it 85.
Yep.
But when the guy's got you beat, don't reach out and grab him.
Yeah.
I mean, just hope. Just hope that the guy breaks the tackle or
Right.
something. I mean, sometimes you got to just put yourself in a position where you make a smart decision where
Let
you're not
that
gonna
guy, to trust on your guy that your guy's going to be able to make a play that's going to help
Right.
you out every
Right.
now and then,
Right.
because it happens a lot. Hey, there's a couple other guys that we talked about. Xavier Howard. I don't, Xavier Howard and Kenyon Drake, two guys I'm very, very anxious to see. And look, there's talk right now that Xavier Howard, who's missed pretty much all of training camp, is going to be the starter in Seattle when they go out.
That's
because
impressive.
That's how. But I think that's how convinced they are that this guy's that type of player from what they've seen in OTAs, mini camps, and all those type of things, that he can be that kind of guy.
Not one person had a shoulder pad or you had it on helmets and shorts. I mean,
No. I mean, but so
in
he's
OTAs, and I get so.
Yeah.
So he'll be tested pretty good this coming tomorrow night.
Yep.
And then if they trust him that much and to line him up against a world champion from a couple years ago, then more power to him. This kid's talented.
But quite frankly, it's not like they got Brent Grimes over there along with Byron Maxwell. I mean, look, they're in desperate need of somebody opposite Byron Maxwell to step up and make a play. I think that says a lot also about how important it is for them to get Xavier Howard ready to go this week. So if they do need him in Seattle, that he is ready to go. And Kenyon Drake is an interesting guy. And I think maybe one of the things it's you hate to get help this way, but Isaiah Peed is out. Looks like he's going to be out for a couple weeks, so that allows Kenyon Drake to get in there. And here was a situation where Kenyon Drake, Isaiah Peed was playing well.
Yeah.
And if you're Kenyon Drake on the sidelines over there, and during practice, and you're seeing that, you go, hey, I got to get out there. But now he's got a little bit of breathing room out there. He's not going to get cut. There's no doubt about that. The guy's a third-round draft pick, but he certainly has to show something out there this week, and he's got to be able to stay healthy throughout the course of a football game.
Okay, Bo, you said he's not going to get cut. I get that, but if he doesn't show enough in this one preseason game, you almost have to expose him on waivers and bring him back on the practice.
You got to figure something out, because but then again, you got a guy you spent a third-round draft pick on, and you got to make that decision. Are you going to put him out there? Someone else is going to pick him up, and understand that there's a flush there when everyone's getting their rosters down. But you got a guy like that was a third-round draft pick. It's going to be hard for people to let him go on the waiver wire.
He's got skill. I mean, obviously, me being an LSU grad, I watched him do his damage against us for 4 years. I mean, so.
AJ, that leads to another question. Matt Mateo, should we be worried about our running game?
I mean, I like the two guys right now, Foster and Jay. I like them. I mean, I'm worried about the offensive line. I mean, that's I think those guys, if you get some holes and give them some gashes to run through, they're going to make their yardage. Yeah. I mean, Foster being just so experienced and being so knowledgeable of the that offense that Adam Gase likes to run, and Ajayi, he's just so big and powerful. I mean, I trust both those guys. I'm just really concerned about our offensive line. I mean, and everybody says we think we got it figured out this year. We're going to see.
We'll see.
We're seeing about 11 or 12 days.
Yeah. The other thing, Jay, is that everyone talks about the offensive line. When they talk about offensive line, they talk about pass protection for Ryan Tannehill. But they've also got to be able to run block. I mean, they've I don't care how much you want to throw the football around the yard. You got to have some semblance of running game. You have, I always say you have to have a running game that the defense has to respect. You don't have to run the ball 30 or 40 times a game, but every time you run, you certainly have to have that defense has to respect your ability to run. If not, it's put everyone, pin your ears back, and we'll blitz all the time.
I mean, because Adam Gase wants to run the short passing game, so he's looking at picking up 6-yard chunks, 7-yard chunks. So that running game needs to pick up 4-yard chunks, 6-yard chunks. I mean, I remember we played. They always talked about if on second, we used to always worry about 2nd and 6, 2nd and 6. That's like now they can do anything against you. But 2nd and 7, 2nd and 8. We kind of knew that we can control what we were calling on defense, and that's kind of what you got. You got to put that defense always playing defense.
Yeah. No doubt. Hey, you're watching the Audible here. You can go ahead and get your questions in. Kim Bokamper, AJ Duhe with you. Still got time to get some more of your questions. Travis Lee, who starts week 1 versus Seattle? Jay Ajayi or Arian Foster? Or do they just play both and go with the hot hand? I think it's almost a tryout for those guys because neither one has really blown the doors off during training camp and during the preseason game. So I think you got to find that guy who wants to be the number one guy.
But Foster just past week, I mean, he did 2 or 3 things, Bo, that were impressive.
He did, no doubt.
I mean, it's just that his awareness on the football field is just is years ahead of Jay Ajayi. You know what I mean?
And they run that stretch blocking. And they like his patience because he'll get back there and he's comfortable enough, confident enough that he can sit there and knows what he sees at crease. Then he's going to go ahead and drive through it.
Not only that, he knows what it produces.
Yes.
When you do that for like 8 or 9 years, he played
4-time Pro Bowler.
So basically, he's done that so much in his career. He knows. Okay. Yeah. I know exactly where the hole is. Okay. There's too many guys over here to make the play. I know and that touchdown run the other day was like magical.
Exactly. You knew as soon as you saw him kind of take a little step back, there it is. He's in for the touchdown.
And the backside guy played the biggest part in that role.
Yeah.
I mean, even though he knows he could be 13 or 14 yards from where the ball may end up, he ended up being right where the ball came. It was a big play.
Yeah, no doubt.
Just to maintain that edge for him to cut back and get to it.
I agree with you in that. But with these two going in, Arian Foster's got a notch up on Jay basically because of his history, what he's done in the past. Certainly health is going to be an issue for him to get him through the season, but right now neck and neck. But I would give the nod to Arian Foster going into this one.
I would think that, but even Arian probably wants Ajayi to play. I mean, he just knows he's at a point in his career that I want to be the guy you can count on, but then again, you better have somebody else to.
Well, look, Adam,
to carry
you got to have the other guy. But Adam Gase in his offense, he wants that one running back. He doesn't want to change guys in and out. He wants, and this is where Arian fits in for him. He wants a guy that, when you break the huddle, the defense doesn't know what you're doing based on your personnel. If you got that running back in there, you bring in the pass.
His skill set's too good.
His skill set is good enough to where you can keep him in there. He's a 3-down guy. You can keep him there in third downs if you need to collect yards and throw the ball to him. So I think Adam wants to have that guy just so you're not tipping your hand. You bring in what's the little kid running the little kick returner?
The kid from Texas Tech, right?
Yeah.
But getting back to Drake, I mean, and I think maybe that's the reason they drafted him out of Alabama because he showed the ability.
Jakeem Grant.
Okay, but Jakeem Grant.
So you bring Jakeem Grant in there on the third down. You know they're going to throw the ball. Right, you're going to throw the ball because you're not going to hand him the football. Instead, you got Arian Foster in there, and now it's a two-way go. Right. If you got a 3rd and 4 or some situation like that.
But Drake, I think Drake has that same kind of skill set.
Yeah.
I mean, he runs the off tackle play. You can put him in motion, and then and then all of a sudden you find out right away are they man coverage, zone coverage, and he may be in a one-on-one situation, in a pass route because the guy runs pass routes as good as receivers, and that's the thing that Arian Foster they talk about. He pays so much attention to receivers because he knows that sometimes he may have to run the skinny post from lined up in the slot or something like that.
Lucas Heinrich, do you think we should pick up Knighton to improve our run? That's Terrence Knighton was with Denver. He was with New England. New England released him a couple days ago. I don't think so. I think at this point,
I'm happy with the inside.
I'm happy with where we're at defensive wise in the front, and to bring a guy in. Look, first of all, if New England let him go, there's not a whole lot left in that tank because he's, Belichick's not letting guys go if there's any tread on those tires. They're not letting them go that often.
Yeah, and then the kid, the second-year player from Oklahoma, Jordan. Cam was it the Jordan, the kid who's been playing a lot of snaps.
We're doing bad. We're doing bad when it comes to.
He's been playing a lot of snaps this preseason.
Jordan Phillips.
Okay, Jordan Phillips. I mean, I like him. I mean, but then again, you're saying
but
his motor's kind of doesn't run all the time.
Point. I mean, Jay, we've played with those guys where you don't know one play from the next whether they're gonna.
When you're making that kind of money, that motor needs to run. I mean, I do not understand how your motor can't run constantly.
No,
I
don't know. All right, who's your pick to win the right guard spot for week 1 of the season? Josh Ferris. I'm going with Jamon Bushrod. I think Bushrod's going to be the right guard. I think Laramie Tunsil's going to be the left guard.
I've seen some good things.
And the thing to me about Bushrod, look, one thing I know about Laramie Tunsil, he may not be completely 100% comfortable in that guard position. He may need to see more reps. This guy's a football player.
But I tell you, I think he's better at the guard because the guards are doing more stuff in space, and he's so athletic, Bo.
Very, very much so.
I mean, he does a lot of good stuff in space.
And let me tell you what, he gets his hands on it. He's short sets, gets a guy in line of scrimmage. That guy's not going anywhere. No. Once he gets his grips on those guys, he's not going. But Bushrod, to me and Bushrod, if nothing else, look, we've seen Billy Turner a lot. We've seen Dallas Thomas a lot. They continue to struggle at that position. Bushrod's a guy that's played in this league for a long time. He's a Pro Bowler. I know he hasn't played that right guard position, but again, I go back to the fact that he's a proven football player. You know, and give me a football player anytime when there's a guy out there that you're not sure that whether he can play at this level or not. Here's a guy that's done it for a long time and has done it well for a long time.
Right. So, I mean, like you said, we got some more questions to answer after tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of bargaining at the table when those coaches got to get together and want to keep, every coach wants to bargain for that extra guy on there to make their depth chart a little bit better. Even though you have a team depth chart, each position coach has his depth chart, and it doesn't. And
if you got that special team, that special team coach digging for every crumb that he can get, no doubt about that. Okay. Larry Martino, are you worried about our linebacker playing missed tackles? There's been a lot of missed tackles, but I'll say this, AJ. I mean, I've watched some of these games around the National Football League. There are a lot of missed tackles in this league, and to me, it's kind of a byproduct of the lack of live contact that these guys go through during training camp, and that's all part of the collective bargaining and all that. So, to me, I've said this before. The tackling, I don't see the tackling getting good in this league until week 3 or week 4. Week 4, when these guys get 3 or 4 games of full speed play under their belt for guys playing full games and doing all that. You just hope that the missed tackle is only going to be for another 4-yard gain. I mean, when you're the last guy standing and it's missed tackle. Yeah. Let's bring on the extra point team. I mean, that's what we don't want to have. Which I think leads to the question about, the Dolphins went out, they made the move with Philadelphia. They got Kiko Alonso to come in and kind of fill in that void that they need at the linebacker position. And I think he needs to play up to that expectation a little bit more than we've seen. He had a big missed tackle in the first game. Yeah. Had some issues getting off blocks against Dallas. So he's got to get somehow between now and Seattle, he's got to get his game to a different level.
He does, when I look at him on film, he looks pretty lean. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. But I'll say this, JJ, when you get up to him, he's a bigger guy. He's bigger than you think he is. Okay. He's got a big lower body. He's thick in the lower body. Maybe a little bit thin on top.
I see some of these linebackers that play on the inside now weighing 265, 270. I'm kind of going, and they still run 4.5 or 4.6. Our running backs and DBs didn't run that in our day. It's a different breed of animal.
But Jay, I tell you, I walk in that field. And there's sometimes I watch guys walk by me. Cam Newton, look at Cam Newton walking. He's a defensive end. Yeah, he's a defensive end playing. He's 6'6", 260, 265 pounds, playing quarterback back there.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah,
it's an amazing thing. All right, Jeff Boyer, kind of same thing. Have they worked on tackling? They've had a history of poor tackling. I think that's a tough thing to do. I mean, really, the only way they can work on tackling now for the rest of the season is with dummies out in the field or what they do on game days on Sundays. So. The thing about it for me, AJ, every team's in the same boat. They're all playing by the same rules. They can all do the same thing. So
I'm going to start paying a little more attention because I kind of, I watch the red zone. I kind of get, the package. I'm going to start seeing, how much of that's being talked about by other, broadcasters. Because I know, I watch the Dolphins, and I hear, our media talk about it all the time. I'm going to start paying a little more attention to see if it's kind of just a league-wide issue, to see if one team is really struggling a lot more than the other.
Jay, it's interesting. We've both been out of the league for a long time, still remain close with the organization, but the passion for this football team any different for you now than when you played? Obviously, it's a different thing when you played, but I don't think you've lost much passion for this team and this franchise.
People, even right now, are you excited about the season? I said, listen, I'm excited every damn July and August. I said, I want to be excited on Thanksgiving Day when I'm having, with my family and friends, knowing that our team means something, that we got a chance, because I said Thanksgiving to me is a time of the year where, you kind of like your team's got you feeling wonderful, or they kind of going, let's get it over with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt. I lost my earpiece here, so let me get that back in. That's where you've been talking to me, Leon? You've been talking to me the whole time, Leon? Somehow I backed off here and I pulled my plug out, so I've just been kind of going by the seat of my pants. We're winging it, so that's all right. All right, well, Jay, look, we're going to wrap this thing up. It's been a pleasure.
Sure enough.
I got one more game.
I'll come by anytime.
This game.
Maybe around Thanksgiving we can rehash, right? Okay.
This game tomorrow, AJ. Like I said, most of the starters are going to be out, but there's going to be some guys out there that are busting.
Guys need to make jobs.
But at this point, Jay, what do you think there are? 1, 2 jobs maybe still in the balance going into a game like this? Because there can't be very many out there.
Well, no, it's going to be for the starting position. You talked about the 2 guards. Yep. Okay, that's two line up against Seattle jobs.
Yep.
You're talking about that corner opposite Maxwell. Okay, that's a job. The running back job. Okay,
and you're talking, but to me, I think you come down to guys that are running down the field hoping to make the team on special teams and make a player, a big player too, that maybe boost them over that guy that they're competitive with.
The kid who's returning punts and kickoffs. I mean, does he cover kickoffs? I mean, is he a flyer on? I mean,
Grant, no.
I mean, so
you're talking about Grant?
Yes.
No.
I mean,
no.
That's going to be, that's a negotiating table. I'm telling you right now. That'll be a negotiating table.
Because when it gets down to it, they're going to start with how many plays is this guy going to play in a game? Is he going to give us 20 plays or is he going to give us 40 plays? And that makes a difference. But I think he's made the roster no matter what, because kick returns, punt returns, and then look, you can throw the ball to him out of the backfield. You can do a lot of different things.
You don't want a lot of kick returns.
No.
You know what I mean?
No. All right, Jay. Always a pleasure, my man. All right, that's going to do it for the Audible today.
Fins
we'll
fans.
be back on Friday at 4:30. You can catch us on Facebook.
Fins up.
You can catch us on Periscope. You can catch us on MiamiDolphins.com. We'll catch you next time. It's been a good time here today, and hopefully we'll have one on Friday.